Hey racers, I have a story I want to share with you from a couple of years back. Me and my brother we go mountain biking now. We go mountain biking fairly regularly. It's one of the hobbies or things that I love to be able to do. But a while back, my brother had a mountain bike, and he had was a decent mountain bike, and he used to go mountain biking up in Greenmount. So up Greenmount Hill, off to the side, which is here in Perth, there's what they call the goat farm, which is our trails that we have through the bush, through the hills. And so for a couple of years, he was going riding there. So he had this mountain bike, and he used to go mountain biking up there every couple of weeks, or every week on the weekends, or whenever he was free, he'd go mountain biking there. And so I saw his mountain bike sitting out, this is when I was living at home, I saw his mountain bike sitting outside for ages, and I'd walk past and be like, shit, like I want to go mountain biking as well. So he'd been doing it for a couple of years and been going to this exact same spot again and again, because there's not many places to ride here in Perth, but that's one of our closest spots. So I kept seeing his mountain bike, so I ended up going out and getting a mountain bike so that I could go riding with him. So I was like, cool. So I was like, let's go out together, let's go mountain biking. I've got my bike, you got your bike. Let's go out there and have a ride at the goat farm. So I go out there, and the first time that I go out there, it starts off when you're in the car park. So you get in the car park and you have this slow, like gravel road type climb and trail, and it's only very steady. So this was my first time on the mountain bike or on a push bike since I was probably 12 years old, when I used to ride my bike every day. So I was a little bit rusty on the bike. But anyway, so we're going up, and I was like, shit, this is getting fucking hard already. We haven't even started yet. So I get up to that bit, and it slowly elevates. I'll go sideways so you guys can actually see. So it slowly elevates. There's a little bit of a climb. It was like that pea gravel. So it was very loose, very dusty, very dry. It wasn't much grip at all. So you couldn't really stand up and get on the pegs. You had to really sit down to be able to keep the weight in the back. So it was just absolutely smashing your legs. So anyway, so we get to the top, and we go up this slight increase. And then we get to this next part where it starts to flatten out. And then we look up, and there's this hill up here, all right? This is the top of the mountain bike trail, and we're down here. Now, the ride is probably only I would say maybe a kilometre. I would say maybe only a K, maybe 2 Ks to the top. But it takes forever. It probably takes about 15, 20 minutes to be able to get to the top of this hill. Now, along this path, it's fucking steep, right? But it also goes around on itself. So it's not just straight up the hill. It's kind of winds around itself as it's going up the hill to be able to get you to the top. Because it's so steep, you wouldn't be able to go straight up. It has to go along the side, and there's different bits of the trail that have been cut out for you to actually be able to get to the top. Now, within that, going up to that hill, there was different levels. So it climbed heaps, and then it flattened off, and then climbed heaps, and then it flattened off, and then climbed heaps, and then you got to the top. So there was kind of these two bits where you could kind of not really rest, but it was just flat for a little bit before you started to go up the hill again. I don't know if that's better or worse. So anyway, so we go there, and we're at the bottom, and I'm like, holy shit, that is one big fucking hill, and it's gravel, it's dry, there's exposed rocks everywhere. It's not one smooth trail. It's not like we're just going up one smooth trail. You kind of got to try and pick your line in the trail, because there's so many rocks and exposed rocks and just shit everywhere up the hill, probably because not many people ride up there. Most of them push their bike to be able to get to the top. So anyway, so we start pedaling for the first time. The first time I only got to the first level. So there was three little levels where it leveled off, or where it went flat for a little bit. So you always try to get to that level, and then you'd have a little bit of a break. Still keep going, but you have a little bit of a physical rest, and then get ready to climb again. So the first time I went there, I just got to the first bit, and I was like, fuck. And I was doing all the wrong shit. I was standing up, and I was over the front of the bike, and the back wheel kept wheel spinning, and I couldn't get up, and I was like, fuck, this is shit. So I ended up pushing up to the top. Anyway, so my brother got up to the middle, okay, I think, which was the second point, the second resting point. And I said, do you reckon a few more weeks? I was like, do you reckon we'll be able to get right to the top? And there was a little bit of sarcasm there, because I was like, fuck, that is one big fucking hill. It's going to be really hard. And he goes, oh, I don't know. He goes, I don't think we'd be able to get up there. I said, well, where's the furthest that you've got up to? And he goes, oh, the furthest I've got up to is this second spot. I was like, okay. I was like, how long have you been coming here? And he goes, well, I've been coming here for the last couple of years, because he was in Queensland before, moved back to Perth, and he's been riding there for a couple of years. The furthest he ever got was to this second level, okay, and that was it. That was kind of his peak. He was like, yeah, when I get to there, I'm fucked. That's it. I'm done. I'm getting off and walking for the rest of it. I was like, all right, sweet. So we start to go mountain biking regularly. Okay, so he's been at this one spot for about the last 2 years. He's been riding there for 2 years and he's got to this middle spot. Now we start to ride together regularly. We're going riding once a week or once every couple of weeks, getting out on the mountain bikes. And the first thing that we have to do is to be able to tackle this hill to be able to get on the trails. So what started to happen is I started to progress with my riding, and I was doing a little bit of research as well. I was like, how do I position my body? How do I stop getting wheel spin? And he doesn't do any training at all. Okay, he eats like pizzas, ice creams, the lot during the week, all day, every day. I do a heap of training, eat well, okay, super fit in comparison to where he's at with his fitness. And he was beating me up this hill. So I was like, fuck, this can't be happening. So I'm doing research, trying to find out different technique things and how to be able to ride the bike and how to be able to improve, etc., etc. So only getting to a stage where a few weeks later, it was probably like a month later, after we'd gone for maybe 4 or 5 rides, and I was getting to that same stage that he was at. So we were riding and getting to that same level of flat land, climbing that hill together. So I was like, sweet. I was like, I'm getting better. And then that gave me a little bit of confidence. I was like, fuck. I was like, I'm going to make it to the top of that hill one day. I was like, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm going to get to the top. So anyway, so when we went on a couple more rides, I started to progress and started to get a bit better again on the mountain bike and started to push myself. And so this time I actually got a bit further than that second platform, that second plateau, and I started to push halfway up the hill before I actually fell off or lost balance or my legs were absolutely cooked. So what happened then is we actually did that same hill a second time on that same day. So our legs were already fucked, but we came around and we did it a second time. What happened, my brother actually beat his previous record that he had had for 2 years and now made it further up that hill again to where I was. So he saw me do it, and then he's come around again after he was already fatigued from doing it the previous time, plus doing the 5K loop or however long it was, and then he's beat where he was before. So I was like, shit, like now he's pushing me. I was like, fuck, now we're on the same level. I was like, I'm the fit one. You're not the fit one. Like, I'm the one that should be beating you up there. So obviously we rest, we go back, and we continue to work on our mountain biking again as we go over the coming months. And so I got to a stage where I actually got to the top. So a few months of training and riding and getting to know the trail and knowing where to go, and there was a bit more to it. I ended up getting to the top of that hill in like from bottom to top in one crack, without stopping, without falling over, without going backwards, without getting wheel spin, getting to the top, consistent pedaling all the way. And got right to the top. The next ride that we went on, my brother comes out and he gets to the bottom of that hill, and you can tell by the look on his face that he wants to fucking go further than what I have. The next ride that we go on, he makes it as well from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill in one go. In one crack. So this hill that we'd only started off a few months back, that he'd been riding for at least 2 years by himself, going riding by himself, going mountain biking by himself, tackling this exact same hill, in the exact same conditions, in the exact same spot, on the exact same bike, still not doing any training, still eating the pizzas and doing all the other shit that he does, was getting stuck at this halfway point and continued to get stuck there. And then when we started riding together, it stretched him and it pulled him and it showed him what he was actually capable of, because he saw me stretch him. He saw me go that bit further. So he went that bit further. And then I went that bit further again. And then so he went, shit, like I'm behind again. And then he went that bit further. So all of a sudden, in the space of say 3 months, he's doubled the amount that he was able to mountain bike, the amount that he was actually able to push mentally. He's done that in 3 months. He has doubled his capacity on that mountain bike in 3 months, compared to what he'd done by himself in 2 whole years by himself. So just think about that. He doubled his capacity to be able to ride up that hill. He pushed past that point where he was stuck. And just remember, he's done what he's already done below, but he's got this fatigue here that he's carried into the top of the hill as well. And he's continued to push and continue to progress in 3 months. He's made more progress in 3 months than what he made in the last 2 years combined when he was on his own. Purely just from having me there as competition. Purely just from me there being able to push him, being able to stretch him, By me putting ideas into his mind going, shit, like I'm going to get to the top of that hill, I'm going to get a bit further. By me stretching myself, that allowed him to stretch himself and pull him along and get him to do things on that mountain bike and to work at a physical and mental capacity that he could not do by himself. He could not do by himself. He had this plateau. He had what he thought was his standard, what he thought couldn't be pushed, what he thought was the most that he could do. But it wasn't, because he could still do more than double that. But he had to be in the right environment and have the right competition to be able to stretch himself. So the message that I want to get across to you guys, racers, with your riding and your race fitness, is you can continue to go alone, right? You can continue to go and do your own programming, and you can continue to go and do your own training, okay? You can continue to go and do your own nutrition, and you continue to do everything by yourself. Go to the gym by yourself, do the same, your own workouts, do workouts that are different to everyone else. You can isolate yourself, like most racers do, and you can think that you're training hard, think that you're pushing yourself, think that you're stretching yourself, think that you're operating at 100%, exactly like my brother did on the mountain bike, and think that you're working hard and get 2 years, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the track, and still be in relatively the same spot, exactly like my brother was on the mountain bike over the last 2 years. He thought he was going hard, he thought he was pushing hard, he thought he was working at his max, but he wasn't. Because he was by himself, he compared himself to his own standards. So if you do that with your own training, exactly the same thing is going to happen, is you stay stagnant. You think you're pushing, you think you're progressing, but you're actually not. You're making this much progress compared to this much progress. So that's option A, that's path A that you can go down. You can go back to doing your own stuff and doing your own training and doing your own nutrition. But they're the results that you're going to get. Or you can put yourself in an environment that is going to force you to stretch yourself, to do things, to perform at a level that you would not be able to do by yourself. That you would not be able to do by yourself. And I use that mountain biking analogy, and I got just as much benefit out of that as well. Because if I went mountain biking, maybe I would have just got to that first part and gone, oh, fuck it, that's it. But I saw my brother Jeremy getting that bit further. I was like, fuck, I've got to push. If he can get there, I can get there. So path B is you can have that environment for you with your training, with your riding and race fitness. You can be doing the same workouts as everyone else, comparing yourself, being in that competitive environment, stretching each other, pushing each other, being pushed by other people, being stretched by other people, seeing what other people are capable of, seeing how hard the other guys are pushing, and use that environment to be able to help you to be successful, to get the results that you want with your riding and your race fitness, so that you can continue to progress. And have the same experience that my brother had, of getting 2 years of progress by yourself, compounded down into 3 months. Just think about that. 2 years of progress by yourself, and compound that down into a period of 3 months. That is the power of environment. So it's your choice. It's either number one, you go and do your own stuff, you do your own training, and you stay relatively stagnant, you plateau. Or you put yourself in that environment, you force yourself, you commit yourself to that environment, to be an environment where you're going to be successful, you're going to be stretched, and they're going to be able to pull you along, get you to do things that you just wouldn't be able to achieve when you're training by yourself.